Hello and welcome. This is Midday News. Prime Minister James Marape has announced that 10% of earnings from Kumul Petroleum Holdings and Kumul Minerals Holdings will be allocated to support various churches. He also pledged 6.5 million kina for a new PNG Council of Churches headquarters. This marks a significant partnership between the government and churches for the nation's well-being and development. Prime Minister James Marape emphasized the government's commitment to supporting the churches and encouraged them to expand their efforts in education, healthcare, youth development, SME programs, agriculture and more. The PM's commitment underscores the partnership's importance in advancing the nation's well-being and development. The first part of the 2023 national examination, which began with the Grade 10 examination on Monday, October 9th, and then the Grade 12 examination last week, completed on a high note. While Grade 8 students sit for the exams this week, Grade 12 examination papers have been marked also. Marking for Grade 10 examination papers began last week. Secretary for Education Dr. Uke Kombra said, despite minor issues with the transfer of exams papers, for rural schools, collaborative efforts between schools had with possible for the papers to reach schools, enabling students to attend to the exams.
Place so the exams could be conducted in a more secure and fair manner. And I report that as of this moment, we have no incidents of any malpractice. And that's a very good news for our country and our education system.
In reinforcing its commitment to women's empowerment, Women's Microbank, also known as Mama Bank, participated in the 2023 PNG SME Awards. Two significant awards were sponsored by Mama Bank, the Janet Sape Resilient Business Women Award and the Women's Microbank Informal Business Award. In tribute to visionary founder, the late Janet Sape, Mama Bank introduced the late Sape Resilient Women SME Award last year, vowing to continue this tradition annually, celebrating women who demonstrate outstanding resilience in their entrepreneurial journey. Apo Mary won the prestigious award this year, and as deserving as the recognition, she was also given financial support, a 5,000 kina check. Sine Yongumul district in Tsimbu province is improving its face with road infrastructure. While the district is in central highlands, its geographical terrain and heavy tropical rainfall all year round has meant that building and maintaining road infrastructure is costly and requires better coordination and commitment. The deteriorated Molg Kagai and Dumun Koge Road in Tabare, Suai and Yongumul LLG is now accessible. District Administrator Obert Waure said 20 million kina is acquitted through the DSIP fund to construct these roads. This is the first of its kind for the people of Yongumul, Tabare and Suai to have access to better roads at their doorstep. Mr. Waure said for the last 5 years, potential development activities and access to basic services such as education and health have been following smoothly.
Go stop long. Madasuko dege. Okay. Dumon to Monoleba was stop long koge. Total kilometers look 2 block them and 5 kilometers each. Now, keep me block at scoping companies. I'm not extending not 5 kilometers more go. Me block at 3 miles to Konoma on the way to QM scoping companies. Engage him Kayavex now scoping finish. One can of them come up Nintul to Korwai and maybe to Tintino Silly maps or scoping companies. So let's be blessing some funding now and then we silly map.
Port Moresby prepares to host the World Indigenous Business Forum from October 24 to 26, 2023, with over 500 delegates, including 150 international representatives. Minister Richard Maro encourages citizens to welcome guests and promote Papua New Guinea. The event offers a unique chance for local businesses to showcase products, build networks and seek partnerships. It will start with a grand opening ceremony and conclude with an official closing ceremony providing a platform for international collaboration and business growth. In regional news, the United States has placed additional American troops on prepare-to-deploy orders following escalations by Iran and neighboring forces. Violence has also flared on Israel's northern border with Lebanon. Residents on both sides have been forced to flee their homes.
Kids play in a bomb shelter, blissfully unaware of the war on their doorstep. But above ground, near the Lebanese border, there's disquiet and division.
I have no sympathy for the Gazans. I don't think there are innocent Gazans.
The peace process is the only answer for a future in Israel.
20 minutes north, there are no kids to make the most of the sunshine. The town of Shlomi is one of nearly 30 evacuated within 2 k's of the border. We're here just a few hundred metres from Lebanon. Lebanon's right over there, and just a few days ago, Hezbollah fired an anti-tank missile. You can see the damage where it struck.
1 man killed and 3 others get injured. Look, I'm not scared. And this is my home. I have no other place to go.
Israel's border with Lebanon.
Quickly, catch me. But no, here. Come here to the mamad.
As we're filming, the area comes under the heaviest bombardment of rockets since the war began.
Stay here. Okay, stay in this area.
So we've just come into the shelter here. We're waiting for the rocket fire to pass. You might hear it in a moment. You can hear the Iron Dome exploding. We also heard a bit of gunfire, but I understand that's from the Israeli side of the border across to Lebanon. It's a pretty frightening experience, I've got to admit, but for these guys, this happens almost every day. Safe in the city of Haifa, the evacuated residents of Shlomi enjoy views of the sea. The kids are busy, but even they can sense something is wrong.
It's nice here. At home, we always heard the sound of bombs. And here, we don't have this, and we don't have to think about terror attacks.
People with small children who live in the border area need to think twice about returning home.
That is, if there is a home to return to.
The relations between China and Fiji are solid and inclusive, and the two countries are relating to each other as families, says Fiji's Deputy Prime Minister, Viliami Gavoka, on the sidelines of the Third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation. When asked about whether geopolitical factors could influence bilateral ties, Gavoka said the two countries could focus on what we can do as friends. He said there are a lot of common interest between China and Fiji in economic and social aspects. Fiji is one of the first countries in the South Pacific region to ink with China a memorandum of understanding on cooperation under the framework of the Belt and Road Initiative. Fiji says it wants to be an active participant of the BRI to grow our society and develop our country. Crippling Chinese tariff on Australian wine could soon be lifted in breakthrough for the relationship between the two countries. It comes ahead of high-level meeting next month. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese confirming he'll visit Beijing and Shanghai in early November.
After last drinks were called on Australian wine 3 years ago, there's now something to toast.
Cheers. I think overall, relief, excitement and just such happiness.
Wine exports to China came to an abrupt halt when tariffs of up to 220% were imposed. Now that decision is being reviewed.
I was exporting 200,000 cases a year to China, and then over the last 3 years, obviously all of that dried up.
It's a case of déjà vu. Earlier this year, China announced it would review tariffs on Australian barley, which were then dropped in August. The expectation is the wine review will have a similar outcome.
We're very confident that this will result in, once again, Australian wine, a great product, being able to go to China free of the tariffs.
In return, Australia has suspended its action before the World Trade Organisation.
This has not been transactional. We've engaged and put our case on a range of issues.
These tariffs should never have been put in place in the first place. It was an attempt at economic coercion by China.
A $1.2 billion export reduced to $8 million.
The difficulties that the Australia-China relationship has gone through in recent years has had a real-world impact on thousands of South Australian families.
But now hope that figure will start to rise as early as next year.
We certainly are confident. We think that there's a better relationship at the political level over recent months than perhaps there has been in the past.
Timing is everything in politics. There was the release of Australian journalist Chung Lei recently, followed by today's announcement just 2 weeks before the Prime Minister heads to China. He'll be the first Australian leader to visit since 2016, in a sign that the rocky relationship is on the mend. But in the meantime, Anthony Albanese is now on his way to the United States, which recently raised concerns about China's expanding nuclear arsenal, an example of how the relationship with China is always a
In sports, the Papua New Guinea Peppers secured their first win against host Singapore at the 2023 Maxis Nations Cup, a week-long tournament which kicked off on Sunday, 22nd October at OCBC Arena. The Maxis Nations Cup kicked off with an exhilarating showdown between Singapore and PNG, with Singapore narrowly losing by 2 goals, 52-50. The second game of the day was between Sri Lanka and Canada. Canada scored a 4-goal victory, 50-46, against their more experienced counterparts. In the day's final match, the Singapore team faced a tough Cook Island side and came up just short in the last quarter, losing by 3 goals to their more experienced opponent, 53-50. In today's fixture, Singapore A play Sri Lanka, Canada takes on PNG, and Cook Islands are up against Singapore. This tournament is a lead-up match for the PNG Peppers before they head to the Solomon Islands for the 2023 Pacific Games. That's all for now. Do join us this evening at 6 for the main news.